Solo Leveling by Chu Gong. Chapter 7 Part 2 A Proposal. Because Jinho was so persistent, Jinwoo decided to give him an hour. They promised to meet in a popular cafe franchise across the street from Jinwoo's apartment building. Cafe Bin. Because it was right after lunch, there were a lot of people inside the cafe despite it being a weekday. "Boss, over here!" Jinho brightly greeted Jinwoo. Jinwoo had increased his perception to the max before coming in, but he hadn't detected any other hunters. Jinho wasn't here for revenge, at least, not that he remembered doing anything to cause the newbie hunter to harbor any bitter feelings toward him in any case. He sat across from Jinho. "I didn't think I was going to see you again." Jinho's unfinished ice cream sat on the table. He stood up and asked Jinwoo, "Did you order anything? Do you want some coffee?" "No thanks. I'm fine." Jinho sat down looking disappointed. Jinwoo spoke first. "So what did you want?" He was interrupted. "He really did it. That's insane." Jinwoo looked to the side. 3 large, rough-looking jocks sat with 3 girls one table over, causing a racket. Jinwoo tried to focus on Jinho. "What did you want to talk? Jerk! When did I do that? You're exaggerating cause the girls are here. Talk. You did. Yo, you want me to show them the pictures? Should I show them the evidence, huh?" Both the boys' voices and the girls' laughter were invasive. It was getting hard to have a conversation because of them. So Jinwoo had no choice but to quietly walk over to their table. The boys focused on Jinwoo. "Could you please lower your voices? There are other customers here too." One of the boys rubbed his neck and bobbed his head up and down. "Oh yeah. We'll be quiet. So sorry." The girls giggled at his antics. Jinwoo looked at them in silence for a moment before moving to leave. But something hit the back of his head as soon as he turned around. A crumpled up paper napkin fell to the floor. "BWA ha ha ha. Hee hee hee. Hey, don't do that." The boys roared in laughter, and the girls pretended to chide them. Jinho's face froze as he watched the exchange. "B-boss." Jinwoo picked up an unused spoon beside Jinho's ice cream and walked over to the counter. Look! He's gonna tell on us. Mommy, they're so loud. Please stop them. Ha ha ha." They continued making fun of Jinwoo. He approached an anxious female employee. "How much is this spoon?" "I'm sorry, sir. We don't sell the spoons at our store. It can't be more than 10,000 won, right?" "Pardon?" "Oh, probably not." Jinwoo placed a 10,000 won bill on the counter and turned around. "Sir? Sir?" Jinwoo ignored the employee and went straight to the table of jocks. The boys stood up, sensing from Jinwoo's expression that something serious was about to go down. "What's up?" "Huh?" Everyone in the cafe was focused on them. Jinwoo showed them the spoon he was holding. As the boys stared at it, perplexed, Jinwoo began crushing the spoon. The utensil lost its shape in his hand. The blood started draining from their faces. Tack. What was rolling on the table was no longer a spoon. It was a crushed ball of steel. "Whoa!" They swallowed nervously. "That's not normal. He's a hunter." They exchanged glances, and then the boy who had thrown the napkin at Jinwoo bowed first. "I'm so sorry." The other boys bowed as well. "I'm sorry. We made a mistake. I am so sorry." The now pale-faced boys bowed several more times in apology, and then ran out of the cafe with the girls. Whoa! The other customers were thankful because they'd also been inconvenienced by the loud teenagers. Jinwoo sat down again. Jinho gazed up at him with respect in his eyes. "You're so cool!" "Forget that." Jinwoo went back to the topic at hand. "Why did you want to see me?" "So, I thought about it a lot. I thought about it again and again. I really need to tell you something, boss." Jinwoo raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" Actually, Jinho blushed, and he looked shy but eventually summoned up the courage. "Actually, I'm going to form a strike squad." Jinwoo answered without hesitation. "No thanks." Jinho looked dumbfounded. "Boss, you're saying no already? I don't need to hear any more." He was firm. It wasn't like Jinwoo didn't like Jinho. He might be a little strange, but he seemed pleasant and loyal. He was different from the stereotype of the super-rich seen in the media. But Jinwoo had no intention of humoring the little master playing hunter. "If you don't have anything else to say, I'm gone." "Beat boss." Jinho hurriedly grabbed at Jinwoo when he made to stand up. "Boss, just 20 times." "No, please go with me 19 more times." "Where? Dungeons?" "Yes. I'll make sure to compensate you well." Jinho sounded desperate. Jinwoo cocked his head. There are two main reasons for being a hunter: money and a sense of duty. Jinho wasn't doing it for either of those reasons. Maybe he thought being a hunter was like an extreme sport with a little more danger? That's the image Jinwoo had of Jinho. It was surprising to him that Jinho wanted to form a strike squad even after what had happened in that dungeon not too long ago. Well, I guess it takes all types. It wasn't far-fetched to assume there was at least one spoiled, rich kid who had a fetish for danger. Yet Jinho's eyes were too determined to dismiss him as such. Or does he have something else in mind? Jinwoo was more interested in what he meant by 19 times. Then, compensation. The gears in his mind began turning. Wait. If the last raid was his first, and he's asking me to do 19 more. No way. Was he? Jinwoo quickly arrived at an answer. His expression was incredulous. "Are you planning to get a guild master's license?" "Yes." Good thing he hadn't ordered coffee. If he'd been drinking, he would have done a spit take. "You want to be a guild master?" "The thing is, it's a little complicated." Jinho flushed even redder than he had earlier. "Please at least hear me out, boss." In the end, Jinwoo's curiosity won him over, and he sat down again. "All right, I'll hear you out." Besides, Jinwoo had given him an hour, and it wasn't done yet. He should at least listen to his story. Jinho quickly sat back down across from Jinwoo. "Like you said, I want to get a guild master's license." It wasn't difficult for someone to acquire a guild master's license. A hunter just had to participate in at least 20 raids. After that, they could get a license once they passed a simple written test. Of course, no one would want to join a guild created by an untalented guild master, and the guild wouldn't last if it didn't maintain the minimum number of members. Jinho continued. "Truth is, and it hasn't been announced to the public yet, but my father plans to form a guild." "Eugene Construction is starting a guild?" "Yes." Eugene Construction was one of the top construction companies in Korea. It had grown rapidly by expanding to other areas, and Jinwoo had heard that it had recently made a fortune venturing into hunter-related businesses. Now they want to maintain their own guild. Jinho elaborated excitedly because Jinwoo was showing interest. "My father wants to form a large guild by signing up strong hunters and continuing hunter-related businesses under it." If a company wanted to conduct hunter-related business, cooperation with guilds was absolutely essential. The strength of large guilds was necessary in order to collect treasures from A or B rank gates, such as essence stones, remnants of magic beasts, and mana stones. So he wants to create a self-sufficient company. That's exactly it, boss. It wouldn't be a problem for Eugene Construction to form its own guild, since it had the funding. The problem lay in who would be in charge. My father wants to run the guild like a company by hiring an S-rank hunter as the guild master and appointing my older brother as the vice master, but Jinwoo caught on to what Jinho was saying. A guild structured that way would be volatile. The guild master has the highest authority in a guild. Even if the guild master was an employee hired by the vice master, it would be possible for the guild master to take control if a conflict ever arose. Therefore, there was only one way this could work. Hire a guild master who would never betray the employer. For example, a brother or a son. For Chairman Myunghan Yu, it was a son, Jinho Yu. My older brother has made a name for himself, so it'll be difficult for me to be appointed the guild master. The company earned a lot of money from my brother's idea to expand into hunter-related businesses. Jinho's brother was already a successful 31-year-old businessman. On the other hand, even though he had awakened as a D-rank hunter, Jinho was still just a 22-year-old university student. The chairman wanted his eldest son to run the guild. Although Jinho's brother couldn't be the guild master because he wasn't a hunter, he understood the business well and had already proven himself. The chairman was clearly willing to take the risk. And you want to persuade your father to make you the guild master? Yes, that's right, boss. Jinwoo understood why Jinho was trying so hard to include him in his plan. If he hired a high-rank hunter and got the guild master's license, it would look like he just bought his credentials. But if he got the license while working with a purported low-rank hunter like Jinwoo, he could potentially change his father's mind. His father would recognize that Jinho could lead the hunters. That was Jinho's scheme. Once he became the guild master, all he'd have to do was scout an S-rank hunter as the vice master and bring other talented hunters to the guild. Others would feel safe and join the guild as long as either the guild master or the vice master was powerful. To accomplish this, Jinho needed to complete 20 raids. Please help me, boss. You're the only one I can count on. He bowed his head. If it hadn't been for Jinwoo, he could have died on his first raid. First by the spider, second by Dong-suk, twice in total. He needed an ally he could trust. I can trust him. Jinwoo was a true man who was strong enough to kill his enemies without batting an eye. But he was also fair, and didn't carelessly harm weaker people or reap any rewards he hadn't earned. He was the ideal hunter for Jinho's plans. But Jinwoo didn't need Jinho. So Jinwoo had to ask, "What's in it for me?" Jinho lifted his head with a hopeful expression as he took out a large envelope. Inside was a blueprint of a building. He handed it to Jinwoo. "This is the building we're constructing as the guild's offices. It's expected to have a market value upward of 30 trillion won. There was always a possibility that magic beasts could escape from dungeons even with the association managing the gates. So real estate near a branch of the association or a guild was always hot, because there was nothing more important than lives. Even having a small guild nearby meant that safety would be ensured for the people in the area. And if there was a large guild nearby? Say no more. If I become the guild master, I'll only use the building for a year until the guild is settled in, and then transfer the deed to you. Of course, I'll have it notarized so no one can say anything later." A 30 trillion won building for 19 C-rank raids. Jinwoo grinned. "Are you saying it's a win for you as long as you could be the guild master?" "That's correct, boss." With his first raid, Jinho had learned that anything could happen in a dungeon. If he hired an incompetent hunter, he could lose his life. If he hired a famous hunter, his father wouldn't trust him. But Jinwoo was different. He was an E-rank hunter who had managed to defeat a C-rank boss and several C-rank hunters without any injury to himself. Boss has to be at least a B rank, possibly even higher. 19 C-rank raids would be no problem if Jinwoo was on his side. If he could become the guild master, it would be totally worth 30 trillion won. All he needed was a yes from Jinwoo. Will he refuse even this proposal? Jinho peeked at Jinwoo's expression nervously. What would his answer be? Jinwoo was lost in thought. 30 trillion won. That was an incredible amount of money. Considering how the first prize in the lottery was 1,500,000,000 won, you would have to win 20 times in a row to receive that much money. To top it off, the value of the building would keep going up. This incredible scenario would have a typical hunter signing the contract immediately. But Jinwoo was far from typical. He was the only one of his kind. He was the sole hunter capable of upgrading his abilities. He could reach S rank or even higher if he continued undertaking quests and leveling up. If I become S rank or higher, 30 trillion won would be nothing. An S rank hunter could fetch a contract worth mid to high 12 figures. Even celebrities and star athletes couldn't match the signing bonuses S rank hunters received. This was an era where a nation's power was measured by how many high-rank hunters were in the country. The recognition of S-rank hunters was beyond imagination. So Jinwoo's current priority was leveling up, not making money. It was easier to level up on his own. It's better to have fewer variables. If he hunted with other people, he'd get less experience, and besides, it was harder to do anything when he was being watched. Jinwoo had to threaten Jinho, so the newbie hunter wouldn't be a problem later on, even though he hadn't wanted to. Scheduling would be a challenge too. All in all, the cons outweighed the reward. I can make money anytime. Although he felt a little disappointed, he was about to refuse the proposal when... Wait! Jinwoo thought of an idea that would let him kill two birds with one stone. If I do it this way... Jinwoo looked up at Jinho, who was extremely tense. He spoke carefully. I have one condition. Jinho's face lit up. Anything you want, boss! Would he still be smiling after hearing what Jinwoo had to say? Jinwoo had to stop himself from grinning. Only you and I go in. Pardon? Jinho was caught off guard. Be boss, sorry, but... Did I hear that right? You're saying you, and I will clear C-rank dungeons alone? Exactly. Jinho's face turned ashen. Jinwoo had killed the spider boss by himself, so Jinho could leave the bosses to him. He had trouble breathing, though, when he imagined it being only the two of them near the entrance of the gate when the bugs had swarmed at them. Jinho was at a loss for words. Jinwoo's face made it clear that he'd expected this reaction. Still, this is the best way. He could kill two birds with one stone. It was very difficult joining a strike squad as an E-rank hunter. Jinwoo had painfully realized that on the first day, he decided to make money. He would have to either give up freelancing or form his own strike squad. But thankfully, Jinho said he would assemble a team himself. Wasn't this an opportunity? Be but boss! In order to raid a C-rank dungeon, you have to have a minimum of 10 MEM. A line will form if you're paying people just to reach a head count. They'd need to borrow a tactic from Dongsut's playbook. Hunters who didn't want to risk their lives fighting but needed to make money would apply for the job with a fire in their eyes. Jinho looked like he'd be sick from thinking about it. You're not saying we'd have to kill everything from beasts to the boss by ourselves? To be precise, Jinwoo would be doing all the work, but... That's exactly it. This way, Jinwoo didn't have to lose out on any experience, and he also wouldn't have to watch out for other people, since he and Jinho would be the only ones there. Then maybe my level will explode. Having an amazing building when all the raids were over would be the cherry on top. Now he just had to persuade Jinho. Jinwoo figured, correctly, that the young man would be trepidatious. But wouldn't that be too dangerous, boss? You have to look at both sides of the coin. What? Jinwoo waved at him to come closer, so Jinho leaned in. If we're the only two hunting, then nobody will get hurt as long as neither of us gets hurt, right? Alright. You just tagged along for the first raid, so there was nothing you could do about the accident. But think about successfully finishing 19 raids safely without anyone getting hurt. Jinho's eyes widened. That's right. If they could pull that off, it would be a lot easier to persuade his father. After D-rank hunter on his resume, he could then add strike squad leader who led 19 raids in a row without any accidents. He would be more than qualified to be a guild master. It would be the best PR he could have. Jinwoo wore a self-satisfied smile as he witnessed Jinho's expressions. This guy, he's hooked. Jinho was the desperate one out of the two, after all. Even without him, Jinwoo could use the association or rewards from mystery boxes to raid dungeons. Meanwhile, despite being a little scared, Jinho had a lot to gain if Jinwoo's plan was successful. He recalled Jinwoo's combat abilities and figured they were more than good enough to dismiss any insecurities he had. He finally made the call. Let's do this, boss. I'll recruit the members. Good. Jinwoo nodded. They understood each other's needs. Jinho was still nervous in Jinwoo's presence, but he was now able to display a big smile. Boss has my back. He wasn't worried about future raids anymore. Jinwoo was a trustworthy comrade, and with him by Jinho's side, it'd be easier to form the strike squad. Based on the conditions Jinwoo proposed, people would be lining up around the block to join the squad. I'm one step closer to becoming a guild master. Jinwoo also smiled. I can wipe out C-rank dungeons by myself and level up quickly. They both left the cafe with looks of satisfaction on their faces. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Jinwoo ran home after sending Jinho off, as he didn't know when the association would call him. It had been more than 10 days since he'd been discharged from the hospital, so it wouldn't be strange for a gate to open nearby at any time. Normally, the association summoned hunters 2 to 3 times a month to clear gates in their area. The reason he'd given Jinho only an hour was because he was expecting a phone call from the association at any moment. I don't even care if it's an E-rank dungeon. He wanted to defeat some beasts, so he could level up faster. Who knew not having a cell phone could be so inconvenient? At least he'd receive a new one in a few days. He opened the door and went inside. The apartment was quiet. It was a weekday, so his sister was at school. As soon as he confirmed no one was home, he opened the daily quest screen. Gotta get today's rewards. He had already finished the daily quest before meeting Jinho, but he'd put off accepting the rewards because there'd been too many people around. He didn't want people to see the blue light wrapping around his body or gift boxes popping up on the street. Pain. Push-ups 100 times. Completed 100 out of 100. Sit-ups 100 times. Completed 100 out of 100. Squats 100 times. Completed 100/100. Running 10 kilometers. Completed 11 tenths. You have completed daily quest, strength training. Rewards have been delivered. Would you like to check your rewards? Y/N. Yee, no. Jinwoo was about to accept the rewards out of habit, but he stopped abruptly when he noticed something. His eyes focused on the running counter. Running 10 kilometers, completed 11 tenths. His first reaction had just been to think, oh, I did an extra kilometer. But something about it felt strange. Why did it record the amount even after I reached the goal? Jinwoo narrowed his eyes. Was it just a coincidence? He got on his stomach and started doing continuous push-ups. His eyes were fixed on the screen though. Ping. You have completed 1 push-up. Push-ups 100 times. Completed 111 out of 100. Ping. You have completed 1 push-up. Push-ups 100 times. Completed 112/100. That's what I figured. It wasn't just running where the counter kept increasing. The push-up counter was noting the extras as well. Suddenly, Jinwoo wondered how high the numbers could go. Veins were popping out on his arms by now. He couldn't even feel his weight because of his increased strength ability. His body felt as light as a feather. The count went from 100-something to 200 in a flash. Ping. You have completed 1 push-up. Push-ups 100 times. Completed 200 out of 100. Ping. You have completed 1 push-up. Push-ups 100 times. Completed 200 out of 100. The count stopped at 200. It didn't go up any higher even though he tried a few more times. 200 was the limit for sit-ups and squats as well. Push-ups 100 times. Completed 200 out of 100. Sit-ups 100 times. Completed 200 out of 100. Squats 100 times. Completed 200/100. Running 10 kilometers. Completed 11 tenths. No more and no less, but exactly 200. The count wouldn't go up infinitely, nor would it stop at 100. Something was going on. He had a hunch. Would there be different results waiting for him if he hit all the counter limits? Let's find out. Jinwoo was out the door in a flash. He quickly finished running 9 more kilometers, and when he returned to his apartment building, he received a message. Ping. You have completed Hidden Quest, Strength Training. Rewards have been delivered. Would you like to check your rewards? Y/N. The title of the quest hadn't changed, but the type had. His hunch had been correct. He swallowed nervously. Check. Ping. You have the following rewards. Reward 1. Full recovery. Reward 2. All abilities plus 3. Reward 3. 1. Blessed Mystery Box option. 2. Cursed Mystery Box option. Would you like to accept all? 3 points for all abilities. Jinwoo could only stare. The rewards were very high, which was fitting for the completion of a hidden quest. Adding 3 points to every stat was the same as leveling up 3 times. In fact, it was even better to have the abilities increase while the level didn't. After all, it would be easier to level up with increased abilities. At the same time, Jinwoo was slightly disappointed. He had kind of been expecting to be able to change all the daily quests to hidden quests from now on, but if the rewards are this impressive, there was a high possibility that this would be a one-time event. And if this hidden quest wasn't going to come around again, he had to be even more cautious about Reward 3. Reward 3. 1. Blessed Mystery Box option. 2. Cursed Mystery Box option. It was his first time seeing an optional reward. If he chose one, he'd most likely lose the other. If I choose one, will I never get to see the other one again? Going by the names, the choice was obvious. But that could be a trick. Accept Reward 3. Ping. You must choose between 2 mystery boxes. Blessed Mystery Box. It will supply an item the player wants. Cursed Mystery Box. It will supply an item the player needs. The explanations were simple. It made it even harder to choose. He would have chosen the Blessed Mystery Box had there been no explanation, but now he would feel a little unsatisfied no matter which one he chose. What I want or what I need. Both sounded tempting. But there has to be a trick. An item the player wants was probably something he wanted based on his current needs. But an item the player needs probably wasn't like that. He could end up with something he needed but wouldn't necessarily want. Like if he needed a weapon, a bomb popped out that eradicated the whole area, including him. That's probably why it's called the Cursed Mystery Box. He'd go with the less risky one. If he had to choose between something where he didn't know the outcome, it'd be better to choose the option where he wouldn't regret whatever happened. After thinking through it logically, Jin-Woo came to a decision. Blessed Mystery Box. A small box appeared at his feet. He picked it up. Could it be? His heart started racing. The size of the box was familiar to him. He ripped into it. I was right. His eyes widened. Inside the box was a gold key. It was a key to an instance dungeon, which he'd been desperately hoping for. Soon the information about the key popped up. Ping. Item: the Demon Castle's key. Acquisition difficulty: S. Category: key. A key to enter dungeon, the Demon's Castle. It can be used at Daesung Tower at Songpagu. S rank? Jinwoo's voice squeaked. There was no guarantee that the acquisition difficulty reflected the level of difficulty to clear the dungeon. But Jin-Woo didn't think they were unrelated either. The instance dungeon he'd accessed with the E-rank key had been as easy as an E-rank dungeon. What if the dungeon's level really was S-rank? It was impossible to know if even a team of S-rank hunters could clear it. They'd have about a 50-50 chance. The difficulty of gates increased exponentially with gates that were B rank or higher, and only a few S-rank gates had ever opened around the world. And one of them opened on Jeju Island. Humans could no longer live on Jeju Island after that incident, so it had become no man's land. Jin-Woo stared at the key. Is this what I want? The good thing was that it said he could enter the gate with this key, unlike the other key that had said it would take him to the dungeon. That meant he could retreat at any time. Even if the key disappeared, he had a teleportation stone in his inventory. He didn't have to worry about being stuck in a place with invisible walls. He could decide whether to attack the dungeon after checking it out using his increased perception ability. If this really is what I've been wanting, I'll progress to new heights after this. Jin-Woo made up his mind. He wanted to see with his own eyes if this key truly was what he wanted.